Hello and welcome everyone to this session with Ilian Raykov on VR and how to use it on a completely new way in arts. I'm going to be helping him out on his slides. So
Yeah.
if it's going to take a little bit longer, uh, just excuse us, but we had some technical issues here and we are happy to be live now. So Ilian, welcome over here. Can you please introduce yourself here for a moment?
Sure. Hi, Nick. Thanks for the invitation and for your assistance. So, my name is Ilian. I'm the co founder and marketing executive director of our company. We are an XR agency and immersive content creation studio. The topic I have chosen for this lecture is history of artistic expression, and I will focus mostly on the visual arts. So please, if you feel that some type of important art form in your opinion or a period has been neglected, don't take it personally. It's basically subjectively compiled information after all. And we can hit it off, Nick.
There we go.
Okay, so in order to discuss this topic, I believe that there are a few very important questions we need to answer. First one is really, what is art? Where did it begin? And those questions are actually seem easy to answer, but it is rather difficult to articulate when one thinks about it. So we can jump to the next one and next slide. And yeah, here we can basically, it's statement that art is to be experienced. This is how we know what art is. We haven't learned about it in any book. And basically, each and every one of us has their own experience about art. And this is their understanding of it. So we can jump to the next one. Here we have the Sir Benedetto Croce. He's a famous Italian philosopher, art historian, and critic. And he basically gives a very good idea. And simply put, in his words, art is vision and intuition. So um, he goes from negating that art is definitely not the physical end product. So neither the canvas nor the painting is what art is actually in its essence. He also further argues that art is not utilitarian. So art is not there to serve any ultimate purpose at all. It is not meant to make us feel better necessarily, worse, or whatsoever. So, furthermore, he argues that art is not a moral act, which means that basically art doesn't care and doesn't carry with itself attitudes as wrong, right, or good and evil. Actually, here I forgot to put one really nice slide. You can now, guys, Google it. Adolf Hitler has some really nice paintings. So this just further goes to show that art indeed is not a moral act, not necessarily. And as well, art is not a conceptual knowledge. So it means that we don't need, when talking about art, we don't necessarily differentiate between reality and unreality. Here on the next slide, I try to put this idea into a bit more, to express it in a bit more details. And basically here we can see a model of how the artist and the viewer and the art piece all interact with each other. On the left, we can see the artist and the core attributes to his art. It's his vision and his intuition. And those serve him to actually internalize the outer world, everything that surrounds him. And by using a certain medium, he is able to express it and to express all of his insights. And so the end product is the art piece. Here, there is a big gap between what the artist feels, his vision and his intuition, basically, and actually the limitations of the medium which he uses to create the art piece itself. So on the other side, we can see the viewer, and the viewer uses the art piece and while experiencing art, he also is able, or she is also able, to internalize the outer world. So in a sense, they get a feeling of what the artist's journey might have been, or a kind of a little glimpse. And I've tried to put it straightforward as a kind of a comparison, the artist's journey to in comparison to the viewer's journey, which you can see here. And I think we can go to the next one. We will elaborate a little bit more on the further in the talk. So just going back to the big question, what is art, and the thinker statue, we can see really that vision and intuition are a major part of it, but I believe that another integral part is the story, because independent whether the artist wants to tell us a certain story or not, just in the act of internalizing his outer world and coming to create the art piece, there is a story left, and the viewer is actually uses the art piece as a reference point to this story, and from there on we go on. Every one of us has experienced it when seeing a painting or anything else. The thoughts and insights we go on about it. So where does it all begin? I would say that it will be with the cave paintings, and that would be most probably the first story ever told. Probably of some kind of gathering hunts or whatever. But the important thing here is that we can see that from the very early emergence of our species, our drive and desire to tell stories, and more so to visualize them, has been profound. So we can go to the next slide. Here there is, I've put a quick timeline, basically from the old cave paintings, going through ancient times and Middle Ages, through late modern times. The idea is just to quickly give you some different examples of different eras from our civilization, and see what we have been doing through the ages and what actually the artistic expression has looked like. So we can jump to the next one. Here we have a compilation of few major Egyptian arts. We can see that it's been mostly, there is as well as paintings, there is sculpting, also goat art, and we can see also that there is some ancient graffiti with the Nubian family with animals. So on to the next one. Here there are a few other examples, starting on the very far right. This is a very interesting figure, a limestone figure called the Venus of Willendorf, and it's dated back around 23,000 years old. So we can see that up until not so long after the cave painting started, the desire to manifest and visualize stories and basically the artist's essence, intuition, and vision has been ever present. The other examples shown here is a vase from ancient Greek times, the famous Mayan sunstone, and the Thracian treasure, which is probably, I'm proud to say that it's from our country. On to the next one. Of course, we cannot talk about art and not mention the Roman times, where the artistry of the mastery of artists has definitely evolved. Here we see some famous wall paintings, mosaics, and of course the very famous and important part of this era, the architecture details and facades with different storytelling, and the famous statue of the spear bearer. So on to the next one. I may have butchered on the timeline a little bit, apologies, but the idea is really not to focus so much time on the history of arts, but to find how the expression of artists has evolved. So during these times, there are far many more pieces, but here we can see some Christian icons, part of the Sistine Chapel, and the Mona Lisa painting. And it is very evident that the level of mastery evolves ever more with the centuries. So on to the next one. This is where things get more interesting. We come to the 19th century, and this is where a new medium arises in the form of the photography. The first photography ever taken, this is the picture above, has happened in 1826 by Nicophore Niepce in France. Basically, he shot a picture out of his window. Photographer, sorry. And shortly after, not shortly, but almost half a decade and a bit more, we come to the emergence of the most probably known media today, the video and the film. There are few examples of it. We can actually, I think we can check the second link, which would be the first official film around K garden scene. This is technically the first movie ever, although it's really looped scene from in 2 seconds. And okay, if the link doesn't work, Nick, it's no issue. The Everyone interested afterwards can check it for themselves. However, the important thing here is that in 1895, the first actual film, Arrival of a Train by the Lumiere brothers, has been screened in a movie theater. And the story goes that upon seeing the incoming image of a moving train, the whole public jumped in panic and left the theater, which is kind of interesting. Here there is also the latter part of the 20th century, and the whole 20th century is kind of important. So we can jump ahead to the next slides and go through some of the more important developments in visual storytelling in the 20th century. We can see the first animation, Phantasmagorie, by Emily Coe. It is actually a pretty good one, more than a century ago, and not long afterwards was founded Walt Disney. The Walt Disney Company was founded, which has left and still is leaving a huge mark on the art of visual storytelling in itself. So on to the next one. Here, actually, important occurrence is happened in 1956. So what you see is the first digital image created, and shortly after, like 10 years afterwards, it was the Industrial Light and Magic Studio was founded, and this is really a milestone for visual arts and storytelling, because this company has been behind probably the most important and groundbreaking innovations in visual effects. And the creation of Pixar, another important company in this regard, has happened in 1986. So on to the next one. Just not want to bore you with too many companies. Here the idea is that a lot of the modern game companies that we know today and which sell titles for billions of dollars have actually started their journey in the latter part of the 20th century. A lot of the releases of major softwares like AutoCAD, Adobe Photoshop also happened in the late part of the century, as well as the occurrence of different animation softwares. So on to the next one we can go. So just not to bother you, the idea was really to show us that throughout the 20th century, the evolvement in artistic skills has continued, yes, of course, but the real innovation has been in finding new mediums to tell our stories as artists. So we come to the virtual reality. So before virtual reality, we saw tremendous increase of available tools. However, this led to the division of traditional and digital artists. Going back to Courcey's idea about intuition and vision, in digital arts, we lack the intuition part. The softwares are mostly not so easy and friendly to use, and the work process is kind of hideous sometimes. So what does virtual reality solve? This is the question. It brings back actually this intuition back on the table. The input, so we have intuition-based input. We create the art, or we create whatever art we decide with our like a brush for painting. It's with the controllers, or even only with the hands. In virtual reality, we have an unparalleled creative freedom. We can mix and different types of art. We can use 2D design, 3D design, video, motion graphics, everything we can possibly imagine, and we can all bring it into a cohesive experience. And this is the most important thing. Virtual reality gives us an opportunity as artists to put people in the center of the story. When in virtual reality, the viewer is the protagonist. We experience our surroundings through our senses, much like in the real world. Not to go too much deeper in that, let's go to the next one. In this regard, so here we can see an example of two pieces done by our artists. And going back actually to the division of traditional and digital artists, here we can see that those pieces have been created by our artists, who by trade, so to say, are 2D artists. They're illusionists, and they create 2D art. They have never created any kind of 3D art. But virtual reality and the tools to use to create art there gives us really they put the intuition in the center of the experience for artists and give us unparalleled opportunity to express our vision. So this actually closes the gap between traditional and digital artists. And I believe that this is a huge prerequisite to see an ever more evolving and changing landscape of different artists and different experiences in virtual reality. So on to the next one. Another traditional art, sculpting, is also simulated and can replicate it in virtual reality. You can even do it together with your buddy of yours and do virtual sculpting. Interesting enough, the feeling of is not like working physically with clay, but it is really intuitive, and people have done amazing things with this software. So on to the next one. It's another example of where virtual reality really brings the hit, so to say. It is with animation. Softwares like Fury and Masterpiece are redefining how animation has been created. As mentioned, with digital art, so we have a better or more freedom to express our vision, but it comes at the price of using the software, which is definitely not intuitive, and it can cost some extra time, and could be some precious time actually in some situations. So softwares like Free and Masterpiece solve this issue. Also, like Quill right on the right, solve this issue by giving artists a new and intuitive way to create animation. We can go to the next one, which is another example, although not so significant. It is a good one, an experience and a game, or basically however you want to call it, where you're really doing graffiti in virtual reality, and just the sensation of using the sprays compared to the sensation of using the spray in the real world, other than not being able to smell the acetone, is definitely spot on, like correct, and 100% simulated. So we can go to the next one. Here I have put in a small comparison just to summarize my point and idea about the artistic expression and its relationship with traditional arts, digital arts, and virtual reality arts. Some of the attributes on the left is intuition, vision, 3D spatial input, and like physical carrier resources. And the last one is immersive storytelling. Most importantly, the most important difference, I would say, between the three types of arts is that whereas in traditional and digital arts we have different types of arts, in virtual reality we have an experience. Although it may be a painting, it may be an environment, but it is in itself an experience. It is not merely an art piece, an object which you see and use it to kind of internalize the outer world, or just appreciate it, or just experience it in your own way. In virtual reality, it is an experience no matter what. You have, of course, the internalization and everything, but just the gap between the artist's vision and intuition and what you're seeing is far smaller than ever before. This is the which actually results in a better immersiveness in the story, and people are really intrigued to see what happens and to watch till the end. And I would give it like a 10 out of 10 factor for immersiveness. So yeah, and as mentioned, just the important difference between traditional and digital arts, where you lack the intuition, and I think that pretty much summarizes the point. We can all go to the next one. Here I have actually put in some of our works just to illustrate what we have done with the VR to art to creation tools. I have put in several projects, so we can go and check one by one what is it about. The first one, it's called Mythical Forest Gathering. It was done for a client of ours. They are a clothing brand, and they have their brand story and identity is based upon local folklore. So we've decided to create a scene out of the folklore history and put the viewer inside of this mythical forest, and basically the viewer had the opportunity to free roam and explore the environment. There was spatial sound, which means that in different directions people were able to hear different sounds, and the whole experience was used as a product promotion campaign. So we can check and see the next slide, the Fever Mountain. So this is a project we did for a pharmaceutical company. It was rather challenging because, well, it was definitely something new they did, using animation in this way. And the experience we created for them was this big this big mountain, Fever Mountain, with a open throat on top of it, and the viewer had to teleport themselves step by step to the top of the mountain. And the interesting thing there is that people felt really immersed, because in virtual reality, because you experience, as mentioned, the environment as you would in the real world, with your physical feedback from the surrounding environment, and uh, you have depth perception, which is here the major thing, and people really feel the height. So the higher you get, and the weaker your feet feel. This was a great example, because people weren't expecting to experience such a thing on a common product promotion campaign, or a classical product promotion campaign. And yeah, it was altogether a good one. We can go to the next one, Nick. Okay, here we had our client, who was an influencer agency. They tasked us to create a virtual portfolio for them, and we decided to create actually a 3D gallery where all of their influencers were hanging as posters. So idea obviously is people go in, they walk around, and they can see all of the influencers working for the agency. It was meant and targeted at potential clients, and they are using it at different events. I'll be honest, not really sure which ones, but we have had it. So on to the next one, which is the final example here. It is an experience we did for a kindergarten. They wanted to promote their business to parents. However, the challenge here was that obviously their business is for kids, and it needed to have some animated look to it, and appeal. And we decided to use animation, and to highlight their commitment to their core values in this way. And the 180 thinking that we did here is that we still felt that as parents were the main target, they could feel a little bit not too immersed, so to say, just because the topic is about children. And we for this reason we decided to incorporate 360 videos, so the experience is in parts animation and in parts a 360 video. And these are the examples I have compiled to show you guys. We have quite more works, but I haven't put them still here. I thought that this would be more than enough, just to illustrate my point. Yes, here is I have put in our highlight reel. However, I'm not sure we will have time to see it, and because when talking about art, we come to the beginning. It is a bit difficult to articulate our feelings. So idea is just to at least see it, and I'll leave some links and information below and after, so you can all see our works, and hopefully you have some interest in virtual reality, both as artists and as art aficionados like myself. I'm more aficionado and a fan of the different arts and the process than having a particular art that I stick to. So thank you for your attention. Thank you, Nick, for the invitation.
You're very
hope
welcome.
we tackled those difficult, a little bit technical difficulties in the beginning, and yeah.
I'm trying to get like that YouTube video for you, yeah, like a final thingy. So let me try to show it. It's not easy to double screen, but I will give it a try. Okay. There we go. Let's see if this works. And let me see the virtual reality painting project. I'm sharing it now, and let me see if that works. So there we go. With or without sound.
It sound will be better.
Cool.
Yeah, it's,
Really cool. Oh, bitcoins. So these are like musea that we can try out with the Oculus Quest, or how can we discover them?
So most of them we have done for clients, and we haven't published openly any of the scenes. Although I believe some of our Tilt Brush scenes are published in the Tilt Brush library. But good to note, Nick. I will make sure to put information and make better use of the channels.
Yeah. What kind of website can they find you on?
You can all find us at www.vrexpress.bg/en for the English version of our website. Also, you can find us in
Express. Like, how do you spell Express?
Express. It's Express with double S. EXRPESS.
Okay, I'm putting that on the comment now. Feel free to go to the website and check it out because this is really cool. Huh? This is a new art world that we haven't discovered yet, I think.
It is really nice that virtual reality gives it's an unparalleled feeling, and artists, they are just as surprised as people when they start being in virtual reality, but when they pick up the brush and start creating art, they're totally amazed. And the transition of traditional to digital is definitely more streamlined, so to say.
This is all draw. This is like drawing on real paper. This is draw in 3D.
Yeah, you draw literally in space all around you. You know, there you can. I wanted actually to put in a slide about my favorite VR artists, so just to be able to show you more of what is actually being done with virtual reality. But I was just concerned that time wouldn't fit in, and I'll make sure to put in some relevant information for people to see. Our Instagram profile, you can check it out. It's mostly connected with our art.
So your Instagram link, is there a link that they can go to?
Instagram? In Instagram, that would be Instagram/VR Express, again, double S at the end, BG, VR Express BG.
There we go. So it's on the screen right now. Give it a, is it written correctly?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Also for the history lessons. I'm really getting so much information here. So
it was a bit too much. I definitely acknowledge it, but it was kind of no other way. Like too much information.
It's very educational. So I was really happy with the history lessons.
Nice. I'm glad you find value in it, and hopefully everybody else did as well.
Yeah, so thank you very much. And we have a little break, and then we are back in 20 minutes with our next speaker. We have a lot of VR presentations today, but we will be back here at the New Horizon stage actually in 1 hour and 15 minutes with the session of Laurie. She's going to present Dare to Do Your Dreams. And after that, we have another session by Dana Maria Vaneker about stress management and burnout prevention in VR. So leveraging VR to reduce your stress and the burnout rate of companies. So I'm really excited about that as well. Feel free to join today.
I'll be watching.
And you can always watch back all the sessions. So great to have you all, and we are going. See you later.
Have a good one, guys. Thanks again for the invitation. Best
Bye-bye.
day to everybody.